1,000,000 acres of stone and light. Jagged and enduring, it is one of the Earth's great natural wonders. But this is not just an immense chasm. It is a landscape, alive. A ribbon of water cuts through the rock, slicing deep into the Colorado Plateau, plunging 5,000 feet from rim to river on a pathway into the heart of the Earth. A journey of wonder begins here. For millions of visitors, this has become one of the most famous hikes on the planet. A vertical mile straight down. A rugged trip into a canyon wilderness.
It's like the hike down that. It's like the hike down that.
From rim to rim, from dawn to dusk, they travel. And with each descending step, they are walking back in time. So many visitors from so many cultures have set out on these paths. And each has to stop and stare. Here on the limitless horizon, the scale is humbling, uplifting, impossible to grasp. A vertical mile deep, 277 miles long, 10 miles wide from the North Rim to the South Rim. Grand Canyon is one of the few natural landmarks visible from space. From Lee's Ferry on the east to Lake Mead on the west, Point Imperial, Desert View, Bright Angel Point, Grand Canyon Village, Hermit's Rest, Toroweep Overlook. Spanning mesas and meadows, deserts, forests, and springs, Grand Canyon offers one thing above all: a vista that stretches out to the edge of the imagination. To some of its first visitors, Grand Canyon was just a wasteland. Joseph Christmas Ives, one of the early explorers, said it was valueless and that it shall be forever unvisited and undisturbed. Opinions have certainly changed. Visitors from around the world now journey to the Grand Canyon, nearly 5 million every year.
Say cheese.
Cheese.
Cheese. Namaste.
Cheese.
Mabuhay.
Cheese.
But today, popularity means new challenges for this wilderness, and new protectors must care for it. A team of archaeologists led by Amy Horn is part of the National Park Service's Vanishing Treasures program. Their mission? To preserve and protect the park's human legacy.
The Grand Canyon's a really amazing place to work. We're working with some of the oldest structures in North America. We've only done research in a very small percentage of the park, so we're always learning new things. But at the same time, it's really challenging. Access to a lot of places is by foot, so it can take us multiple days to get to some of the remote areas.
So let's take a look at this map and talk about what we're going to do today. So just up ahead on the pinnacle is an 8-room pueblo. We're going to locate all of the rooms, and then we'll inventory all the artifacts that we can find inside those rooms. Oh, that was, look at that. So that's another dead man's, right? Oh, that's really
This site is an 8-room pueblo. It's a structure that's collapsed. All we see left is the rock that's fallen down. There's a few little pieces of the wall, but most of it's just a big rock pile. We know it's part of a network of these sites on the pinnacles along the South Rim. We think they were probably used for communication. In the daytime, you could use black smoke. At night, you could have fires and pass messages across a huge distance. What's fascinating to me is how people adjusted to living in a harsh environment.
There are some 4,800 known archaeological resources in Grand Canyon National Park, from the Puebloan relics at Walhalla Glades to the pottery at Deer Creek. They are discovering the artifacts that trace the human history of Grand Canyon. Vivid proof that this harsh land has sustained people for thousands of years. In fact, archaeological evidence indicates humans have called the canyon home for more than 10,000 years, among the earliest signs of human life on this continent. The first were the nomadic hunters. They were followed by the archaic people, who left behind figurines of split twig, deer, and antelope shapes in remote caves. Dozens of Native American peoples would follow. Many are still here to this day. They had Grand Canyon to themselves until around 1540, when the first European explorers arrived, Cardenas and his Spanish conquistadors, looking for the famed cities of gold. What they encountered was this immense obstacle. Then came the westward bound explorers of the 1800s, prospectors, soldiers, and trappers. Army Surgeon Elliott Cowes described it as a scene of utter desolation. Many were scared away, but explorer Major John Wesley Powell was not deterred. In 1869, he became the first to travel the river through the entire Grand Canyon and document it.
We are 3/4 of a mile in the depths of the earth. We have an unknown distance yet to run, an unknown river yet to explore. What falls these are, we know not. What walls rise over the river, we know not. Down in these grand, gloomy depths, we glide.
Facing splintered oars and damaged hulls, Powell would survive to map the entire length of his journey, and his trailblazing expedition would open Grand Canyon, charting the way for those who would come next. With a new century, a new breed of explorer arrived, in the form of entrepreneurs and hoteliers, looking for ways to make a living from the pockets of canyon visitors. Emery and Ellsworth Kolb came to the Grand Canyon in 1901, determined to carve a livelihood out of these walls. They set up a darkroom in an abandoned mine shaft and began photographing visitors. And when they turned their cameras on themselves, their photos became even more adventurous. Daredevil stunts yielded eye-popping images. In 1911, they filmed the first movie ever of Grand Canyon river running. Leaving Wyoming on 2 flat-bottom boats, the Kolbs recorded a rugged voyage, winding through hundreds of miles. A journey that would inspire many who followed. The story of Grand Canyon begins and ends with the mighty Colorado. It's one of North America's major rivers, the prime shaper of this epic landscape. In a desert land where moisture is scarce, this river is the lifeblood of the entire ecosystem. Sustenance for a dry world. It's also the chisel that carves the canyon. Water-cutting rock has sculpted some of the most memorable images of this region and this continent.
I don't know if he's ready for this or not. He's just interested in eating his banana, it looks like. But there's the canyon rim. There's a little trail over here. It says Canyon Rim here. I'm at the visitor center. There's lots of hustle and bustle around here. The buses are that way.